right?
Yeah. Okay, if you look at the participants, you see under attendees, people will start drifting in. So I'll wait 1 minute for that process to happen. Okay, good morning, and for some of you, good afternoon. My name is Bill Coakley from BSMA. I want to welcome you to our webinar being put on by Simple, which is a technology solution that everybody should find interesting. Um, During the call, if you have any questions that you would like to raise for the panelists, down at the bottom of your screen, you should see a Q&A bar. Simply type your question in there, and the panelist will field questions at times that they're able to during the call. At the end of the webinar, I'll let people know what we'll do about recordings and so forth. But for now, there's no need to use the raise hand or the chat box. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to John Bermudez from Simple.
All right, thank you, Bill. Let me just share the presentation and we'll get started. Hopefully all you can see the first slide. So I see you nodding your head, Bill, so I'll proceed. So good morning. I'm John Bermudez. I'm the founder of Bermudez Supply Chain Advisory and formerly of TraceLink, where I became a very active member and supporter of BSMA. And Devendra and I go back a long, long time. Neither of us will say how long that is. I'll be the moderator of this morning's webinar. I want to start off by thanking Devendra, Bill, and BSMA for hosting this webinar. All of you know how passionate Devendra can be with topics he believes BSMA members should know about. I don't have to emphasize that. Supply planning is one of them. The work all of you do is so important to the advancement of critical medicines and therapies. We believe, as Devendra does, that this critical mission should have the best tools to supply an uninterrupted supply of product to support clinical trials and a smooth transition into commercial drug therapy. So Bill, if you can, I'm advancing the slides. So this morning, we're fortunate to have a great panel of industry veterans to take us through the necessary requirements for a successful supply planning process in biopharma. I want to introduce our experts. First, Peter Bigelow, founder and CEO of Simple Solutions. Peter has more than 30 years in pharma manufacturing and various leadership positions, including CDMOs and drug manufacturers. Then we have Dilip Tavajiri, who's president and co-founder of Simple. Dilip has more than 20 years of experience implementing ERP systems and supply chain management systems, other IT systems in pharma manufacturing. And Brian Adams, who is one of you, he's a principal consultant at Simple Solutions now, but Brian has led various roles in pharma manufacturing, including CMC, supply chain, procurement, and external supply. So, following the presentation, we'll have a panel discussion where you'll have a chance to interact with this great panel. Next slide. So what you'll learn for the next 25 or 30 minutes, you're going to learn why you should replace your spreadsheets with a supply planning solution. That's a subject that we're all very passionate about. How to align forecast demand and production capacity to improve collaboration and transparency with your manufacturing operations, CDMOs and suppliers. the importance of including shelf life data in planning logic to minimize inventory write-offs, improve decisions, and just make sure you get these products to market with enough time for patients to consume them. Next, how to balance supply and demand to minimize waste, reduce costs, and prevent shortages. And the important role of campaign management in the supply planning process. And one of the themes that we'll touch on during this, or Dilip will touch on during the presentation, is why it really helps to have a supply planning solution and not try to do this in spreadsheets. Hopefully by the end of 30 minutes, you'll be completely convinced. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dilip.
Okay, thanks. If you can, John, if you can go to the full screen, Peter. And Peter, do you want to explain more on the critical? You're on mute, Peter.
So go ahead, Dilip.
Yeah. Sure. So the supply planning challenges, obviously, I used to work for the cross industry, and I implemented the ERP systems way back in early 90s and all. And we used to manage tens of thousands of materials in that cross industry company. It was pretty easy to plan that pretty easily. But when I came to the pharma industry and to implement the ERP, SAP systems and all, then I was found that if the small company, the mid-sized company, they have only 10 products and like total materials are like 100 materials, and it is so complex to manage that. And I was wondering why this is happening. So I then realized that this is a very big risk, and any ERP is implemented, then typically the planners continue to use the Excel spreadsheet so that they can manage that. So in that case, as you can see, from in terms of the supply planning challenges, if there is no data integrity, then you don't have the real-time data from your 3PL, from your CDMOs, and from your ERP system to the Excel spreadsheet, so that you have to do the manual work. And also, process efficiency is super complex because if there are clinical trials, or multiple clinical trials, or multiple commercial products, then multiple planners will be using the Excel spreadsheets. So they have a different Excel spreadsheets, and then they have no data integration. So that is where the process efficiency is will be inefficient. So in that case, the real-time data visibility, as I mentioned, the data will be much older data. They can manually upload that data into the Excel spreadsheet. Data security is one of the most important thing, because if the Excel spreadsheet is managed on a laptop or in anything else, and if that gets acquired by some other folks, then that could be a much data security risk. Then the lot traceability, and also the inventory optimization, the lack of scalability. These are the most important things, because every material has a lot. I used to work for the cross industry, industrial electronic company. There were no lots. There was no expiration date. There were tens of thousands of materials, but it was so easy to manage that. But lot traceability is the most critical. And in terms of the lot traceability, the first expire, first out is the usage in the pharmaceutical industry. The FIFO is the most important thing. So the FIFO and the inventory optimization, because inventory optimization is that you need to have a long lead time. There is a safety stock may be much higher, and in that case, if the lots are expiring and there is a lot of inventories still remaining, that would be a risk in terms of the obsolescence risk. And lack of scalability, because for example, if you have multiple clinical trials, then there will be a lot of materials are happening, and then there are a lot of depots are there, then multiple depots are there, then how to integrate that. And also, if you are a commercial organization, if you launch the first product in US, it's pretty easy to manage that. But if that same product and multiple SKUs are launched in the EU or any other country, there are multiple lots will be there, multiple SKUs will be there, and how to manage that. Let's say there are 5 products, SKUs are launched in US and they are launched in EU. then there will be like 70 or 80 SKUs will be there, the finished product SKUs. And below that, there will be lower level materials like drug product, drug substance, ingredients, and everything. So that will be the scalability for the Excel spreadsheet will be much challenging. And of course, if you are using the ERP solution and it is working fine, then that will be the best. But if you're not using the ERP system, you're using the Excel spreadsheet, then it will be much challenging to scalability. Capacity management is also critical. How to manage the capacity, because you will be agreement with the CDMOs and CPOs to what is the manufacturing capacity. So if you have to track that, and that will be another challenge. In case you are using the manual supply planning, then the analytics and reporting for the sales and operations planning and other the analytics are most critical and strategic work. So that will be a much another challenge. So that is where the process uniformity is different. So if there are multiple planners are using different SKUs, the spreadsheets, then the process uniformity is not good. So that is the reason why it is a planning challenge in the pharmaceutical industry, the mid-size or the clinical phase companies. So these are the major challenges that we have been experiencing. We have been working with a lot of other clients. We are finding the issues there. So so we can go to the next slide then, if yeah. So, in terms of the to do the planning, these are the key features have to be required. So you all know all these features, so I'm not taking too much time from you. But the supply planning and the configuration, you have to do the configuration for the system, any ERP system or any other supply planning system. You need to define the planning strategy, and the configuration will be based on the configuration. Everything the supply planning will be optimized further. And based on that configuration, you have to maintain the master data, material master data, bill of materials, and the supplier master data, supplier material data, and all those things have to be maintained. And you have to upload the forecast. And based on that forecast, the MRP or the supply planning will be executed. And that is the most critical thing. So, and if you integrate this solution, your system with any other partners like CDMOs, 3PLs, or any ERP system, there'll be a real-time data will be available. So the supply planning can be executed at any time diligently for the clinical materials and also the commercial products. And based on the planning, one of the most critical thing is the pegging which quantity, which inventory on hand, and which open purchase orders will be assigned to which demand. And this is the based on the first expire, first out, FIFO, for the pharmaceutical industry. If the FIFO is not done, if you are not using the oldest inventory on hand that will be expiring pretty soon, then that will become a much bigger risk for the obsolescence and the damage, the loss. And that is where the campaign management and the that is most critical, and the location based planning. So if you have multiple suppliers, say let's say you have two drug product manufacturers, or you have multiple locations of the 3PL locations, or you have multiple packagers, and only one drug product manufacturer, then how to ship the quantity from one location, let's say from drug substance to manufacturer to CMO, to the drug product CMOs, multiple CMOs. From the drug product manufacturing, how to ship the product to the packagers, which quantity has to be shipped to the packagers. And then once the product is packaged and finished product is done, then you can ship it to the one location at the 3PL. And from if you are there are multiple locations for shipping one location from East Coast to the West Coast, then and how to maintain that inventory in multiple locations. That is one of the most critical thing. So that is the real-time data, the real-time planning has to be done very diligently. So Brian, do you have any questions or comments? Feel free to add your comments, Brian.
Yeah, we'll do. No, I agree with your assessment. Yep.
Okay. Cool. So, if any questions, then another one of the most thing is the scenario planning, because in terms of the pharmaceutical industry, there's always challenges are occurring. Let's say the demand goes up very high, or demand goes low, or if the capacity, in case of the CDMOs and the CPOs, the capacity constraint pops up. Any international supplier is not working, so the capacity may go down. So based on those risks, then you can do the scenario planning to see, what is the risk going forward. So that is where it is happening. So let's go next slide, please. Okay, so this is where pretty easy. If any solution that we are using, then it has to be integrated with you need to import the data from your suppliers, CDMOs, or the 3PLs, or you can also upload the forecast manually, or you can import that data from your forecast system, from the IRT system, or you can also understand what is the inventory on hand, what is the open purchase orders are there at the individual location. So you can integrate that with your ERP system, then real-time data will be available. And that is where you can run the supply planning, you can run the scenario planning, and the planning output can be exported to your ERP system so that you can create the purchase orders and release those purchase orders to your suppliers. And you can also integrate with 3PL to import the data from there. What is the inventory on hand? What are the shipments and all that kind of stuff. So those are the most critical things. If you can do this, integrate this system with your partners. If the integration is not possible, then you can easily upload the data pretty quickly to the any planning solution. So these are one of the most important things. So typically from the clinical phase, it is the most critical because there are multiple depots and what is the inventory on hand. So that is the most important thing. So that is where the integration is the most critical. So any questions, comments? Can go forward. We can go to the next slide then. And that is where the shelf life and obsolescence is the most critical thing. And feel free, Peter and Brian, if you want to add your comments, because the shelf life, initially, if you launch the first product, then the shelf life will be much lower, let's say 18 months or 24 months. But it has to be sold at least 6 months ahead of the expiry date, or one year ahead of the expiry date. So how to manage that inventory? And if anything that is date is going to pass, the sale date is going to pass, then it has to be done a PAP product, or it can become an absolute solution. So that is where the proactive shelf life tracking and reduce inventory loss is most critical. How to manage which inventory is expiring in the future. So how to track that is the most critical thing. That cannot be done in the Excel spreadsheet. Also the expiry aware forecasting logic, and that is where any planning solution that can help you to optimize that further, how to manage the expiration date and minimize the obsolescence risk. If you can track those expiration dates, then it will be very easy to minimize the obsolescence risk. So that is the most critical thing. And the product efficiency with the stability and shelf life extension is the most critical. So that is where I would like to add. Brian, do you want to have any comments?
Yeah, there's a lot of unique kind of use cases and considerations as it relates to clinical and commercial planning in the pharmaceutical industry. A lot of things that we have to deal with, changing expiries, updates to expiries as new data becomes available, all of the constant changes with the forecasts. So there's a lot of unknowns and constant changes in your clinical and commercial supply plan. So how do you deal with that, right? That's kind of what we're talking about here in terms of some of these unique challenges that we're faced with, and really kind of then how do we deal with that in a supply planning environment? So
yeah, and in this case, the clinical phase also is very critical, and also the first product is launched quickly, then based on the stability study, the shelf life will increase. So how to track that? So for the drug product, so that is the most critical.
So a question, Bill, can you explain how this interacts with the batch release process so that you're producing batches with maximum shelf life?
Right. So if inventory on hand is updated in the simple solution, then you can assign the expiration date for the finished product. And the finished product has to be shipped at least 6 months ahead of the expiration date, or 12 months ahead of the expiration date. So you can track that. So in terms of the planning, it will always track what is the expiration date, what is the sell by date, and then it will identify what is the inventory remaining. If it is consumed ahead of that expiration date, then that will be a good thing. But if there will be if the demand goes down and inventory is still on the hand and it is going to be expiring in next 6 months, that cannot be sold from today onwards. Or you can track that in the future demand also by end of December 2026. If the product is the expiration date and it has to be sold by end of June, then you can see what is the remaining inventory by end of June, and that will be a much bigger obsolescence risk on that source. That has to be tracked pretty quickly. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. It was just brought to my attention that I was presenting the presenter's view. Has that been corrected?
Yeah, thanks,
No, it is
John.
corrected.
Corrected.
Yes.
Oh,
Appreciate
sorry. I wish
it.
somebody had mentioned that before. It looked good on my screens. Thanks.
Yeah. Now, if there are no questions, then we can go to the next slide, please.
Yeah. We need to get to the demo.
Yeah. So one of the most critical planning tool is the feature is the pegging. What is the inventory in hand, and that inventory to which demand that will be supply for the finished product, for the drug product, for drug substance, and that lots have to be consumed based on their expiry date. If any lot is expiring earliest, then that has to be consumed or to be shipped to the clients, or that has to be the drug product has to be consumed for the packaging, or the drug substance lot has to be consumed for the drug product manufacturing. So that is the most critical thing. So that is where the pegging is there. So as you can see, you all know that the first expiration and first out, any lot that is expiring first, earliest, then that has to be consumed. So that is where the most critical thing is. It cannot be, probably you can or you cannot track that in the your Excel spreadsheet, and but the pegging based on the FIFO for all the inventory on hand, what are the batches, lots are there, what are the open purchase orders, that quantity that's going to be expiring pretty soon, what is earlier, and that will be consumed first.
Yeah.
Or any planned orders that have been created that will be expiring the earliest. So that based on that quantity on hand, or the future inventory, that will be consumed for the high level dependent requirements or the demand. So that is where the most critical thing. So the pegging is the most critical. So match the supply with the actual demand, improve the allocation across sites and products and batches. Let's say any drug substance inventory is located at the CDMO A, which is manufacturing the drug product. So that the CDMO should consume the earliest expiration quantity of the drug substance earliest. So that is where it has to be tracked, and the system will track it automatically. So anticipate issues before the production disruption, and the replace spreadsheet with the connected intelligence. So that is where one of the most critical thing is, any system, it will be better to, once you become a commercial organization, if the clinical phases progresses really well, it will be better to replace the spreadsheet with any planning solution that you like. That is one feature. Pegging is the most important. So
Yeah, if you don't mind, Dilip, just, on the concept of pegging, what it's really doing is just it's matching future demand with future supply on kind of a lot level basis. And so essentially what that does is allow you to kind of look into the future and know exactly when your lots are going to be consumed, start consumption and complete consumption. So you really have that forward-looking view of your demand and supply. So it's really a kind of a powerful tool. And what Dilip was talking about is that then allows you to do some of this powerful analytics around expiration and obsolescence analysis and other types of analysis. So the concept of pegging is really valuable as it relates to analysis and scenario planning.
Yep. Thanks, Brian. We can go to the next slide. So we quickly complete this presentation. So campaign management is one of the most important thing. because it's based on the tier-based planning. So if you order only one lot, then the cost will be much higher. If you order many lots together, the cost will be lower. But the campaign, based on your strategy, the campaign management is most critical. And so that is where this is the most critical thing. I will not spend too much time on this. Brian, do you want to add any comments? Brian, Peter?
It's just another opportunity to really, optimize your supply planning and your upstream manufacturing.
Cool. Good. So feel free to ask any questions if you have, and then we can answer those. But we can go to the next slide, please. Yeah, I'll hand it off to Peter to.
Thank you, Dylan. So we're going to go into a pretty high level demonstration of the system. Unfortunately, we don't have the time today to do a deeper one. We'll show you kind of the configuration, the landing page. We'll show you a little bit how the master data gets inputted, and then show you what a finished plan looks like. And this works, well, and we have customers using it for clinical trial material and commercial material, and we've got a pretty wide range of different modalities that we handle in this system. So it's very versatile. It's very configurable, which really allows us to configure it to the exact needs of the customer we're dealing with. And so I think you'll see that it's got some real value as a best in breed planning system. And then we'll go into a brief Q&A session that John is going to moderate. Philip and I have been working with clinical stage companies for a long time, and we did see that there didn't seem to be a product that was really easy to deploy, that was at a reasonable cost, that enabled companies to move from spreadsheets to a cloud-based kind of single point of truth system that can be used to supplement S&OP processes and really give a very accurate way of planning your clinical trial materials or your supply chain. And that system being able to integrate with things like depots and 3PLs and ERP systems has really turned out to be a powerful tool, and we're really thrilled to be able to demo it today. So I'll turn it back to Dilip, who's going to do a really brief demo, and then John's going to moderate a little Q&A session.
Sure. So I will share my screen. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So this is where the landing page, once you log into the simple solution, this is the landing page, and this is a dashboard, and you can log in via Okta or using the authentication, because very secure solution. So this is a landing page, and I will just take 10 minutes to explain this. I will not go into more details, but this is a landing page. So that is where for all your analytics, for your sales and operations planning, for your strategy meetings and all that kind of stuff, all these the KPIs and the charts and all these things are available right now. So you can, it's very manageable. If you can select a material, then it will change. All these things will change. If you launched multiple product in multiple countries, or if you have multiple clinical trials, you can select the clinical trial and use the these analytics. So for example, if I click on this, it will jump into the more detailed supply planning, the chart. This is analytics. And so it's for the finished product forecast, finished product historical data. What is the forecast accuracy? What is the forecast error? What is the demand versus actual? So all these things are there. What is the past due purchase orders? For these are the finished product, and then you can also review all the drug substance, drug product, and any lower level materials that can be, this is a real-time data, it can be tracked pretty quickly. And you don't have to spend any time doing this analytics. It can be pretty easily doable. So this is one of the most critical thing. And then in that case, the next thing is one of the key features are the configuration. So if you go into this configuration section, so these are the configuration that you have to do. So what are the material IDs and supplier IDs? You have to define the material IDs, or you can import this from your ERP system, or you can manually upload this. What are the product families? Let's say what are the clinical trials? What are the product families for the clinical as well as for the commercial materials? If you are in the clinical phase and also you have launched your commercial product, both things can be managed very quickly in this case. What are the product families of the finished product? What are the material groups? What are the planning horizon? How many months you want to plan? You want to plan for the next 2 years or 5 years or 10 years. Depending on that, it can be done pretty quickly. Planning time frames, yield, supply. So this is a yield also one of the most important thing. If any drug product is consumed for the packaging, there may be 2% of the wastage there. So that is where the yield factor is there. And so all these are the key features that have to be maintained. In terms of the pegging, one of the critical phase is you can consume only one lot of the drug product to package one lot for the finished product. You cannot use the multiple, because if you are using multiple lots, then there may be different lot sizes, the different expiration dates. So that is where primarily they use only single lot of the drug product to package the finished product. But you can use the multiple raw materials, lots for the raw materials for drug substance, and you can also ship multiple lots to the same client who have ordered that. So that is the many things. These are the most critical things for the pharmaceutical industry. So this is the critical. This is a critical type of the configuration for the system. And
Yeah, Dilip, if you don't mind, real quick, Dilip, I guess what I'd like to share is that so you see all these configuration settings, and there's a lot of settings here just in configurations, and the configuration settings, by the way, this is kind of universal. These are settings that apply to the entire environment. So you would apply your standards, but you also have the ability to change by item, by supplier. So you have just total flexibility in terms of how you want to configure and manage your system. So that's what I think is great about Simple, is that, excuse me, is that it was built for pharma, and we have all these unusual use cases. We have expiry changes, we have obsolescence, we have, we want inventory risk mitigation, so we're moving inventory in different places. So there is just a lot of different kind of unique use cases, and you really need a flexible tool to manage that, right? And that's where I think Excel is a challenge. There's so many problems with Excel. Don't need to get into that right now, but the flexibility that Simple offers is just really truly impressive, because it gives you more flexibility, I think, than Excel, but also all the control that you need. And again, this is made for pharma, so we have all these unique little use cases. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves and answer some of the questions, but there was a question around expiry dating. And we all know when we launch a product, sometimes we're stuck with really short expiries. It could be 12, 18 months. And then typically you've got your stability data coming in, and you're getting those expiration extensions. And again, that's a challenge for supply planners, because how do you plan that, okay, 6 months from now, we're going to have another year of dating? Well, Simple allows you to do that. You can put in your expiration date, but you can also put in the extension. So you can say, hey, in 6 months, I'm going to get a year extension. And then Simple will use that logic and plan accordingly. And so that's where I've kind of really found the value of Simple is being able to take all these unique use cases that we have in pharma that are really challenging from an Excel perspective, and then be able to really work through those unique kind of situations using the tool. So that's what I found in terms of value.
thanks, Brian.
Yeah, I would echo, Brian, what you said. One of the things that attracted me to the way Simple approaches planning, I have a long history in supply chain planning, and the more general tools, all of those configurations that Dilip just took us through, and Brian went some detail on. One, they're usually much broader. So expiry date, multiple levels of expiry dates through the product bill of material are just not things that are easily handled, or they require, enormous startup configuration. So by having all of these, designed specifically for pharma, it really speeds the time of implementation and deployment, which is critical for anybody who's, a young pharma company, or trying to get the supply plan for phase 2 clinical trial up and running as quickly as possible. You don't have 6, 8 months, a year and a half, 18 months that it takes to put in some of the other more broader commercial supply planning tools. That was one of the design criteria, which I'm going to ask Peter about later, for this tool, so that it could be deployed in weeks and in a few months, not in several years.
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
And
And again, I don't want to overstate it, but I'll just come back to the flexibility of the system. All right. It was a couple of years ago. We were implementing Oracle. I was at a operating company, and just the lack of flexibility was just terrible, right? You just had to conform to their process, the steps that the system requires, and there's just zero flexibility. And of course, so what do we end up doing, right? We end up using Excel outside the system. It happens way too often.
yeah,
And that's why I think Simple just is a perfect place, surrogate for Excel. You're just getting so much more advantages out of it. And you're really kind of modernizing your supply chain and preparing yourself also for commercialization with a tool like this. I found value if you're lucky enough where you can kind of convert some of your clinical supply to commercial. Again, you've got all of your inventory, all of your plans all in one place, and you can then, do your planning for clinical and commercial quite literally simultaneously within the same system, and manage your inventory very effectively.
right. Thanks, Brian. And so let's go to all the master data. So the material master, and this is the most critical thing for planning. So you can define the planning parameters here. If I go back here, so this just to display here, so what are the lot sizes? What are the shelf life? And let me just explain this. What are the shelf life? What is the shelf life? If you want to extend the shelf life extension. So this is not for the finished product, but this can be done for the drug product and drug substance as well. And then the lead time. What is the lead time? What is the safety stock? And so
let me stop you there again. Again, the more flexibility. So you'll see quickly here on safety stock, you've got dynamic and fixed, and there's kind of more behind this, but there's different ways in which the system will calculate the inventory for you. So you're not just beholden to one methodology in terms of your calculation. You can do kind of traditional, you can do demand driven, you can apply those different methodologies to different levels of bills of materials. So you can apply one supply planning methodology to finished goods and a different one for drug substance. Again, that's the flexibility of the system. The other thing I like about the system is there are certain fields, of course, that are required, right? It's got its logic, its driving supply plan, so it needs this data to drive that analysis and output. But there's a lot in here that's customizable and flexible and maybe optional, right? That you can use or not use in different ways to make it bespoke for you in terms of what is really your use cases. How do you want to leverage the system? What do you want to inputs and outputs, right? It's super customizable.
Yeah. So let's take another topic. Is that based on your configuration, you can override at the individual material level. For example, if you have defined the demand-driven MRP for the safety stock calculation, you can override here, and then it will, for this material, it will automatically use that. So you can just, and then also the override also, this is then, let's say there was, as we can see, the 100% as the yield factor there, but we override here at as a yield factor as 98.5%. So all these yield factors are there. So this is one of the configuration, and the material master data is the most critical thing. Then you can also maintain the bill of material. What is the bill of material? Let's say, just say, if you are, since you are outsourcing if you are outsourcing your manufacturing, then you can build the bill of material as a finished product to drug product, one bottle has a 30 bottle tablets, and if I click on this, it will go to one tablet has 25 milligrams of API or drug substance. And within also, if you are managing the raw material or the ingredients, you can also keep on doing that. So you can do level by level by level by level. So this is one of the most critical things. So
Well,
based on the bill of material, it will plan automatically. So
So we even have some customers that manage all the way to the starting materials level because
yeah.
starting materials are, long lead and hard to get. So it's dependent on what the need of the customer is and how deep into their supply chain they need to manage their materials.
Yeah, good. Thanks for that comment, Peter. But just the supplier master data. So who are your suppliers? Who are the packagers, drug product manufacturers, drug substance manufacturers, starting material suppliers, and all that kind of stuff. And then you can combine the supplier to material data. So which supplier is supplying which drug product? So we had taking some example suppliers names. But you can see the supplier material data, which is the most critical thing. And if you have a multiple suppliers for the same drug product, you can allocate that, based on it can be alternate allocation. You can do that alternate allocation, or you can split by percentage wise, 50-50, 60-40, or whoever is supplying more material, that will be better. So I'll just cancel this, and then on that shipping lanes are most critical. Which supplier is going to supply to which location? Let's say packager PCI is supplying that to Reno as a 3PL, or the drug substance manufacturer is shipping that product to the multiple drug product manufacturers. So that is where the shipping lanes have to be managed here, and this is a location-based planning. And then you can also, this is optional customer master data, but one of the most important thing is the forecast. And initially the forecast will be done manually, and you can bulk upload that, or but you can see here for this material. Oh, sorry. Oh, this is not for this. Yeah. So this is a forecast that you can upload for 5 years or 3 years or whatever. Or based on your clinical, you can also import the data from your depot or your from IRT system to manage the supply plan. And if you are uploading the forecast by the country, by the market, then it can accumulate here. Let's say, for example, so this multiple are accumulated to do this for the planning. So you can also, the shipment is the most critical thing to manage the forecast, error or the forecast accuracy management for the commercial team. Typically, it is not required for the clinical phase, but so you can upload, you can integrate this with your 3PL and import the data, shipment data every day to see that, and what is the forecast, what was the shipment, and what is the forecast accuracy to do that. And in that case, what you have to also update the inventory on hand. What are the open purchase orders are there? You can import it from the ERP, or you can upload manually here. If you are not using the ERP solution, then it can be automatically uploaded by bulk upload. You can also do the bulk upload here.
And also, purchase, again, coming back to flexibility, purchase order capability doesn't even have to be used in the system, right? So if you're generating your supply plans and you're getting your output and you're issuing your purchase orders in another system, you don't even need to put purchase orders in simple if you don't want to, right? So this, again, the flexibility and customization is really high with this system.
Yeah.
But if you want to duplicate or put POs in here, or you want this to be your system of record for purchase orders, you can do that as well. And again, of course, purchase orders act as firm orders, right? For future firm orders. So you can use the system. You can firm your work order, your planned orders, or you can add in purchase orders. There's different ways to kind of accomplish your goals.
Exactly. Cool. So then you can also, the planned orders is the planning output. So it's not the campaign management. You can also do the campaign management. We can explain this in more details if you would like to have a detailed demo. And so this is a view is a section of the finished product, the supply planning output. So if we look at here, based on this, all the inputs, what is the forecast, what is the inventory on hand, what are the open purchase orders, and based on the configuration and the master data parameters, the supply planning will be done. So if I click on this, so this is a planning output. So this is a time phase planning output. What is the inventory on hand? What are the key forecast demand is there? What is the planning time phase? And but one of the most important thing is this lot FP1001A, which is this, it is going to expire. Let's say it is going to sell by date is 2/1/2026. And the remaining quantity at the end of February would be 11,522. So that will be expiring. So that cannot be used. So this lot, this quantity will be deleted from this inventory, and the months of supply will go down. And hopefully, thankfully, there was no shortage here. But also on this note, another lot has been going to expire pretty soon. The third lot also going to expire pretty soon. So this is where you can track this and see how to manage this. You can relabel this, or this will go away. So this is a planning time frames based on the supply chain planning. And so this is a planning output. And one of the most important thing is the location-based planning. So I just deactivated this shipping lanes. So that is where this is a standard planning, supply planning output. But if I click on this shipping lanes and I select all the suppliers, then you can see what is the inventory on hand at packager in Clinton, the PCI, what is the inventory on hand at the Brooks, and what is the inventory on hand at Reno. So all these things will be tracked here. And if any shortages pop up for the finished product at Brooks, then the shipping quantity will be moved from the finished product quantity will be moved from Reno to Brooks. So this is where the location-based planning is the most critical. And so based on that, this is a planning output, and we will really explain this in more details if we would like to schedule a call. And then if you can click on this hierarchy, you can go to the next level. That is where you can see the direct product supply planning. And if you can select all the materials, then if you can, so you can see there's a very complex calculation here, and the shipping lane and all that kind of stuff. This is applicable to from inventory from depot to another depot, or depot from warehouse to depot or something. All these things can be done for the clinical materials or the commercial product.
Hey,
So,
Dilip, I'm going to break in. This has been a great demo, but we have some questions which I think
sure.
from participants, which I know you want to address. First question actually has to do with API integrations. The crux of the question is that you don't often see systems, especially at this early level, being able to integrate with CDMOs to get information. So can you take a little time to explain how the APIs and integrations would work and how you could get information from CDMOs or suppliers?
Yeah, I mean, if Dilip wants to kind of answer that from a technical perspective, and I can answer kind of from a business user perspective.
Go ahead, Brad.
Oh, okay, yeah. So from my perspective, I agree with the the question, right? That or the question is kind of implying that, hey, this is a high level of sophistication that's maybe not needed, and there's a lot of manual or data entry. And I agree, right? It depends on your complexity of your supply chain. If you've got a very simple supply chain, not a lot of nodes or suppliers, yeah, don't try to integrate, and why spend a lot of time trying to integrate inventory that you're going to pull in once a month for one SKU. Yeah, obviously that's not worth it. But the system does have that capability. So if you have a more complex clinical program or commercial program where you're running multiple CMOs, multiple depot sites, right, it becomes really challenging with Excel at that point. And that's where Simple helps, and then the integrations to be able to pull that data in. Now, the other thing, if you don't want to integrate, and I agree that it's a level of complexity that you may not want to undertake, but you can also do these bulk uploads. So planning is always kind of a point in time. And let's say you're planning on a monthly cycle. On a monthly basis, you can take all of your forecasts, your inventory positions, and you can just bulk upload those into Simple, right? And make it very easy for you to perform those transactions. So it's not, doesn't have to be burdensome at all.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, thanks, Brian. I'm jumping around. I'll try to get to all these questions, but one I think is pretty important, and I'm going to rephrase the question, and it has to do with the relationship of, say, the IRT systems and enrollment in cohorts with supply planning. So, and how this relates to the other systems in place to run clinical trials. So, Brian, I know you.
Maybe I can, yeah,
Yeah,
maybe I
take
can
it.
take that on, John.
Sure.
You know, we start with a forecast, right? So we, we can integrate with an IRT system and we can download data, but we've got to start with a forecast that has to be generated and then could be updated so we could, have real-time data coming back from the depots as to what gets deprimated from the inventory. So we start with a forecast, and we can revise the plan based on real-time data, and that's how we integrate with like an IRT system.
Yeah, Simple would really be kind of an augmentation to IRT. IRTs, depot forward and really support the tactical execution of the clinical program, where what is really missing is the upstream aggregation and supply planning across all of your programs. That IRTs, that's the gap. And this is where Simple really fills that gap very well. You can take any changes to your forecasts or what you're seeing in demand upstream, and be able to very quickly, perform scenario analysis, generate new manufacturing plans, and work and collaborate with your CMC teams, right? I think that's really powerful here in terms of that collaboration. A lot of clinical supply people, they're always, working hand in hand with CMC and always trying to understand when are the batches coming, what's the status. And I think Simple allows you to, if you've got changes in your clinical program, to reflect those changes very quickly in terms of your product demand requirements and be able to communicate that quickly to CMC and your CMOs.
All right, thanks, Brian. There's another relatively complex question here having to do with shelf life tracking. Several key points. One, how would Simple handle a change in the shelf life where for some reason or another it's been extended, say from 24 to 36 months, and now we have the possibility that we have batches or lots with multiple expiration dates?
Good question, John. So what we can define, let's say if we go to the material master data, you can assign if the shelf life can be extended. So if the shelf life extension, let's say based on the stability study, initially the first product will be launched in 6 months back. It will be updated. The shelf life extension will happen. Let's say here it was assigned for August 1st, 2025, the shelf life extension. And the remaining shelf life before the expiration, before 180 days before the expiration date, it cannot be sold. But if the shelf life extension based on this, it actually should be 36. And then based on that, whatever the expiry date would be, say December 2025, then it will automatically extend that inventory on a lot on hand. It will be automatically extend that to the December 2026 by 12 months. And also any new purchase order are created or the planned orders are created, the inventory of that on hand, that expiration date will be automatically updated by 12 months. So this is very diligently manageable, but then you can also track that expiration date in the planning output to see what inventories after the extension of this 12 months of the shelf life. You can track all the expiration date for all the materials within sub-planning output. So it is doable. So it is not a manual work, it is automatically be done here.
So
Yeah,
I
and
think,
John, that can be, turned on or turned off in the system
Yeah,
based
here.
on your degree of confidence.
Yeah.
And also, we haven't talked about our scenario planning tool, which comes along with this system, but that allows you to ask a lot of what if questions also, and then document, what if we do get the extension, what if we don't get the extension, what if, forecasts change, what if lead times change, things like that. So
yeah, the
very,
other part
very, very important though, and it's, it just proves that our industry is pretty unique, right? And there's some unique problems, and that's why a lot of the customers we've talked to really like the fact that this system is designed for the pharmaceutical industry and not kind of a cross-industry kind of more genericized kind of program.
Yeah, so thanks for mentioning the scenario planning, because the scenario planning is the most critical for the pharma industry. So this is where this foresight is the scenario planning. So this is a demand update, say 25% will increase in future. Say based on that, it will automatically update the forecast, and the supply planning will be output will be here. So it's for this period from January 2026 to December 20, July or July 2026, then the forecast will increase by 25%. So this is a planning output, and you can compare the scenario plannings. If it is higher 25%, or if it is higher by 40%. So what is this? What are the key risks are happening? So we can compare that. So this is a scenario planning that this is a scenario plus simple foresight is a scenario planning. And on that note, and if anybody is manufacturing that internally, there will be also a production scheduling and Gantt chart will be available for your for the usage. So
Bill, can we squeeze in one more question?
sure.
I commend the audience. The questions are very in-depth, so we have a very intelligent audience. So this last question, I will answer any other questions we didn't get to, has to do with percent yield and communicating that information, especially where an API needs to be transformed and may actually impact the yield. So how would you went through this quickly, the ability to manage yields throughout the bill of material, but maybe you could touch on that again, how.
Yeah. So in terms of the configuration, you can assign the yield factor. So right now we have assigned only 100%. There is no damage. But if you assign any yield factor at the finished product, say 98%, then that will impact on the lower level, next level material. So that say drug product. So there may be 2% of the wastage that may occur. So that is where the 2% additional quantity will be managed for the supply planning will be managed for the drug substance. But for the drug substance, there may be 85% of the yield factor. So there may be 15% of the damage that may occur. So it will automatically calculate the additional 15% of the drug substance quantity, so that you can manage that very effectively. So you can assign that here, or you can override that at the material level also. If you can yield factor, you can also override the yield factor. Let's say you assign the 98% at the finished product for the configuration, but for this material, you can update that to 95% or 90% or something. So based on this, it will automatically calculate the required quantity. So this is something.
And it's based traditionally on, historical performance. And it can be very important. As everyone knows, there's some fairly low yielding processes in our industry, and we really need to account for, kind of the historical performance that you see.
Yeah.
With that, I think we're out of time. I'm going to turn it back to Bill, but thank you all for the great questions.
We have 15
Okay.
15 more, 15 more
Yeah,
minutes.
so thank you, John, and everyone else from Simple. Just to wrap things up, anybody who registered for this event will be able to receive a copy of the slides and a recording that we'll be able to send out next week. And I also want to remind people, if they're not aware of this already, to go to the BSMA website. There's been a lot of information and updates in the website that most of you would find of benefit and interest, starting with there's several work stream group meetings where you'll have the opportunity to interact with your peers and subject matter experts. And with this particular audience, you'll see that there's an opportunity to request an invite to next week's clinical supply technology work stream group. There are other ones, but I think this particular audience would be most interested in that. And you'll also see information and have an opportunity to register for a couple of upcoming webinars. The next one's on comparatives, but for this audience, the next one that many of you might be interested in is titled Unlock the Power of AI, which is scheduled for November 4th. So with that said, I wanted to thank you, everybody, for joining. And again, thanks to Simple for putting on this presentation.
You, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you so much. And we have also some questions in this, so we can respond back to them if necessary on the BSMA website.
Yeah, we have a record of all the questions asked, so we'll include your responses to those questions when we send out the your slides in the recording of this event. So again, thanks and signing off.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Thanks for this opportunity.